Hello guys. So today we'll be starting with a new topic, that is lobes of brain. Have you ever wondered why our brain has this wrinkle formation? It is because of these two things. The first is sulcus, which are the grooves. The gyrus, these are the bumpy or swollen folds, as you can see in this picture on the left hand side. See, these are swollen folds, right? These swollen folds in medical term is known as gyrus, and the grooves in between, these are known as sulcus. Okay. So with the help of the gyruses, I'll be dividing the brain into 4 lobes. We have already done with the skull bones, right? So the lobes are also same with the lobes name. So first you can see this blue color line in between. This blue color line is nothing but central sulcus. The central sulcus divides the lobes. That is, the front part is the frontal lobe, the back part is the parietal lobe. The frontal part is also known as precentral gyrus. If I have to tell it in terms of gyri, we call it as precentral gyrus. And this parietal part is called as postcentral because it is posterior to central sulcus, right? So this part is called as postcentral gyrus. Now, can you see this sulcus in between? I'm marking it. This sulcus divides the parietal and the occipital lobes. So this sulcus will be named as what? It will be named as parieto-occipital sulcus. Now you have one bone on your lateral side. Which bone was it? We've already done it. It was temporal bone, right? So this sulcus, it is present which side? At which side? It is present at the lateral side. Dividing what? Frontal, parietal from the temporal, right? So this is known as lateral side. It's present at lateral side. Therefore, the term is lateral sulcus. Okay, understood? Now, in the right hand side picture, I'll be explaining you the lobes. I am highlighting the lobes part. Okay, first, let me mark the sulcus for you. The central sulcus is very important, right? So I'm marking the central sulcus over here in the right hand side picture. See, I have marked it with green shade. Now I'm highlighting the frontal bone. So this part is the frontal bone, also known as, in terms of gyri, precentral gyri. Okay, now the parietal bone. Okay, this is parietal bone. I'll be naming it later on. Then you have this parieto-occipital sulcus, right? From here, right? So let's mark it. Occipital bone. Which bone am I marking here? Occipital bone. Sorry, lobe. Right now I'm studying about the lobes. Now there's one more sulcus left. Which sulcus is it? This sulcus is on the lateral side, hence the term lateral sulcus. Okay. So, and what will be the lobe? The lobe is temporal lobe. Okay, so these are the 4 lobes and the 3 sulcus. Now I'm naming them. You can see this is frontal lobe. In terms of gyri, what do we call it? We call it as precentral because it's further from the central. First, pre means first. Precentral gyrus. This is central gyrus. Now, posterior to central gyrus, we have parietal lobe, as well as, or you can call it post-central gyrus. Then you have this yellow color sulcus, that is your parieto-occipital sulcus. And what will be the lobe here? It is occipital lobe. Fine. Then you have this pink color sulcus that is present on the lateral side, hence the term lateral sulcus. And lobe on the lateral side, the same goes with the bone, that is temporal bone. Okay, so this was all about the sulcus and the gyri. Now let's learn about each lobe in detail. Okay, the first lobe which we'll be studying here, the first lobe, that is your frontal lobe, also known as precentral gyrus. Okay, so this frontal lobe, it is having 3 parts. If you could see this upper part, then it is having some middle part, then downwards. Okay, so this is known as superior frontal gyrus. This is in the middle, hence the term middle frontal gyrus. This is inferior, so inferior frontal gyrus. We'll be studying about the inferior frontal gyrus because it's important. Inferior frontal gyrus, it has a very important structure, that is Broca's area. Now what is this Broca's area? It is the motor speech area of us. I am speaking right now, right? So this area is working efficiently. Motor speech area. Damage to this area leads to motor aphasia. Okay, unable to say something. you have to know a very important thing, that the frontal lobe is the motor area of our body. It controls all the motor functions of our body. Now, the second is, which lobe it is? Parietal lobe. Second is parietal lobe, also known as postcentral gyrus. Okay, so it is responsible for your intellectual thinking. It is having this ability of stereognosis. If I tell you right now to close your eyes completely, and if I give you a phone in a hand, or if I give you a water bottle in a hand, you could feel it through your hands and understand it still, right, with your eyes closed. This ability is called as stereognosis. Okay, so eyes closed, but through touch, you understand it. This is the meaning of stereognosis. Now, the important part of this, it is the sensory area. So all the sensations of your body, your temperature, which you're feeling, hot, cold, taste, whatever you're feeling, these all is controlled by your parietal lobe, sensory area. So motor was who? Frontal lobe. Also known as, this frontal lobe is also known as what? It is known as precentral gyrus. Whereas your parietal lobe is also known as postcentral gyrus. Okay. Now 2 more lobes left, occipital and temporal. So let's get done with these lobes. You can see your temporal lobe, right? Like the frontal lobe, it also is divided into 3 parts. You can clearly see it this time, right? This is known as superior. It's known as superior temporal gyrus. The second is in the middle, so middle temporal gyrus. This third is at the inferior part, so known as inferior temporal gyrus. Okay. This temporal region, where is it? Just behind your ears, right? So what its function will be? Related to hearing. What is the function of this? It is hearing. Okay. And there's one more thing important over here. And you need to know something. I forgot to tell you. The superior temporal gyrus is responsible for this hearing function. Okay, the superior. In the frontal, we had inferior frontal gyrus, which is responsible for your motor area, right? So here, the superior temporal gyrus is responsible for your hearing function, as well as this one more thing over here. That is Wernicke's area. Very important thing. This Wernicke's area, it is a sensory speech area. Now, what is a sensory speech area? That you need to understand what I'm speaking, right? So right now, what is your lobe, or which part is working very, very appropriately? It is this area, the Wernicke's area. You're trying to understand what I'm speaking, right? This understanding of the speech is done by this Wernicke's area. Okay, it is a sensory speech area. Now, this was the third, right? This was temporal lobe. Now, the fourth and the last one, this is the occipital lobe. There's only one function here, that is vision. So vision is by occipital lobe. Yeah, forever you have to remember. Any problem with the vision, it's always the damage of the occipital lobe. Okay, so that's it for today. You have learned about what is gyri, what is sulcus, how is the sulcus, 3 sulcus dividing the brain into 4 lobes. Then you have studied each lobe in detail. The motor function was controlled by the frontal lobe. The sensory function is by parietal lobe. Hearing function is by temporal lobe. And the vision function is by occipital lobe. Thank you.